Hey guys, this next Vampirefreaks interview is not going to be done by me. It's going to be done by Brianna the kid, my little bat. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Brianna, and this is Tobias, Softkill, the singer and guitarist. I'm just gonna be asking him some questions, and I'm very nervous. So yeah, I'll try not to act nervous. How did you guys meet?
The band?
Yeah.
That's current lineup of the band. I met everybody that I play with just like 10, 15 years ago, randomly when I was younger, playing in other bands or just being at the wrong party at the right time. This band's gone through several lineups, and it's always featured people that were just randomly kind of in my life at different times. I've kind of had some ups and downs, so it's kind of evolved throughout, and this current lineup is actually made up of close friends of mine from different bands that I played in, different tours that I went on, and our bass player Owen I've known since I was 19, so pretty much met each other just, growing up and finding yourself, going to shows, finding bands, so yeah, it's real exciting, roller coaster.
Okay. Wow, that's really fascinating. Like how you just met those wonderful people.
Yeah, I realized that this music I was writing was important, and that I wanted to make it with people, or I wanted to create it with people, and in certain cases collaborate with people that I knew that I could trust. Because, as you grow up and you live,
Yeah.
you meet more people that you think have a permanent place in your life, and then they're gone 6 months later. So I wanted to be with people that I knew, like, our resume was like,
Yeah, like you gotta wait.
yeah, it was there. It was like, it was connected. It was meant to be. I was going to know those people regardless. When I invited them to be a part of it, we made a commitment, and I can trust that, it's rare. Bands are scary.
Really?
Yeah, it's like an intimate relationship with people that you pour yourself into something artistically, and the bass player might not really have that same investment, and you find out at really inopportune times,
Yeah.
prior to tours, prior to recordings, and it was just one of those things where I didn't want to go through that anymore. I didn't want to go through rebuilding with people that I barely knew that seemed like good fits. I wanted to trust it, so I trust my band.
But when you were growing up, what kind of music were you into?
The first band that I loved was Metallica, and then 7th grade, 9 Inch Nails played Woodstock '94, and I saw that, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And got really obsessed with that. And between 7th and 8th grade, the Misfits and Dead Kennedys and all the punk bands came in. So from that moment onward, it was I was really into spiky, crusty UK. Not really, it's I missed that. I missed Nirvana. I didn't care about them. I didn't care about Bush or fucking Pearl Jam, any of that stuff. That came into my life at a time where I already was being hypercritical because your older punk friends criticize everything that you're going to be into and that you're finding. So I was trying to be cool, you know what I mean? And I probably closed the door on stuff that I might have liked because it wasn't punk. So I didn't get into that stuff. I never had an alternative or new metal phase or any of that stuff. And it used to be a sense of pride, and now I realize I kind of limited myself, just by trying to be as punk rock as possible. But yeah, punk rock stuff like Crass, Osrotten.
Yeah. My
Those-
sister loves Crass.
I mean, that stuff, I was in a record store in my hometown, which was a blessing to even have that. And I remember flipping through the CDs and pulling out the ones that were interesting. And one was Crass, Christ, the album, and the other was a Screwdriver album. And I had no idea what it was, but I was like, which of these am I gonna get? And that, I bought Crass, and that kind of, planned my trajectory. What would have happened had I bought the Screwdriver CD? I'd be doing life in prison for race crimes.
Okay.
I was the biggest critic of it. Like, I thought it was the stupidest band name. When we picked it, the band that I was in before I thought had such a perfect name. It was called Pleasure Grave. And I was like, that's so goth.
Yeah.
And when we started writing this new record that was the first Softkill record was supposed to be a Pleasure Grave record. So when we like got to this point with it where I was collaborating with other people and they were like, it's a different band, we gotta have a new name. I was like, oh God, finding a band name, this is always the most exciting moment, right?
Yeah, like finding it out, like I just found out mine.
You have a band name?
Yeah.
What is it?
The Weasels of Wisdom.
Where did you get that name?
Well, I got the Weasels from like Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
And then Wisdom because I'm wise.
How do you know who fucking Pauly Shore is?
How do I know?
Yeah.
My mom. And my mom, she says
Raising
that,
them right.
Yeah, my mom, like, she says that, like, I'm kind of like Pauly Shore, you know, like the hippie kind, you know, like,
Yeah.
like the trees.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, I mean, Pauly Shore was like, I watched an interview with him the other day where they talked about how he kind of created it all, like this first celebrity comedian,
Yeah.
like personality,
I love
lifestyle personality. Yeah, he's wild. When Softkill though, like getting back to it, when that was suggested, I was like, absolutely not. Because first of all, Soft had been used a couple times, Soft Moon existed. I had to be explained the relevance of the name, since it's like, you have all these, now you have all these like dingbats that are like, Softkill, they're releasing chemicals, this is all happening. There's a relevance to it that was like, completely missed me. So I was like, I don't get it, that sounds dumb.
Personally, I like it, like,
I grew to like it. I grew to like it because it's ignorable. And
yeah.
I think band names should either be like, whoa, or, okay. I don't think they
Mine
should.
is like, whoa.
Yeah, you have a whoa name, you know? But
Well,
this,
yours is like, whoa, too. To me.
I mean, it's subjective. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's whoa to you. For me, it was like, oh, that's what they're called? Okay, what's the music sound like? And that was easier. I wanted something that like, didn't really hint at what you were gonna get, or like just didn't really add or take away from it. So I don't know if anyone's criticized it. I'm sure people have. People like to talk crap. People will find
Yeah.
a reason to hate everything.
I think they do it to make themselves feel better.
Yeah, anybody that invests energy into criticizing something
Yeah.
is like trying to make up for something.
Yeah, because
Or they're
they
having a
have
bad
low
day.
self-esteem and like they criticize you because they want to make themselves feel better.
Makes sense.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it doesn't make themselves feel better because they know because if they hurt the other person, that's how they hurt.
Yeah, and the internet is like a good platform for that. Like people love.
Yeah, like cyberbullying.
Yeah, people like to talk crap on the internet, so I go on to every forum or YouTube video and look at comments to see if people talk crap, and then I respond to them, and they never write back. So they'll say something shitty, and then I respond, and I'm like, yeah, I hope you don't like our new album, like, you know, go fuck yourself. And then they go, oh, they disappear.
Yeah.
I know they got the notification, I know you saw what I said. So it's like, you know, they're cyber bullies, but like, they don't have, I guess they're just like not invested in it to like make it their lifestyle. They're just having a bad day, so I forgive you.
Nicole and Tobias, how did you guys meet?
Oh, she'll start talking forever.
Hi. Tobias and I met when I was booking the first US Shadow Age tour. So Shadow Age came and played Portland, and Tobias was there. Shout out Shadow Age, who was an incredible band from Richmond. And we went to the show, and I see this dude, and they're like, "Oh, that's Tobias," and I was like, "Oh man, like he's pretty cute." But he was married at the time, so I was like, "Oh no. But you know, we became really good friends, and sort of through the process of him like quitting drugs and kind of trying to figure out who he was and find out like what his deal was going to be with Softkill, like him and I got closer and closer, and I had one of those like Clueless, Cher from Clueless moments, you know, where she's like, "Oh my God, I'm in love with my brother," like that like totally happened for me. I was just like, I'm in love with Tobias, you know. And
She had a boyfriend, and she like pulled me aside at a Softkill show and goes, "Can I talk to you?" And I went, "Okay." We went into a hallway, and she went to whisper what I thought was whisper in my ear. She went to kiss me, and I went,
Yeah,
She kissed
Like
my
a
face.
lame.
And I had this moment where I was like, oh my God. And then I turned and I kissed her, and then I walked away and I went, oh, I gotta think about that. She's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. But you know, we've been in love ever since, and we have a beautiful son now, and we get to like work on music together and work on art together, and our whole life has kind of become revolves around
Yeah,
that.
she's a big motivator for me, because I come up with ideas and I lay it out, and then I go, I'll get to that at some point, you know.
And then it sits on the shelf for like
Yeah.
like 5 years if I'm not like, you know, they're kind of cracking the whip. So we're a pretty good team.
We could talk about a lot of my weaknesses.
We won't though.
So, do you have to learn an instrument to be in a band?
No, I haven't. No. You don't have to learn an instrument. You can interpret how you want to play any instrument, first of all. Bands that were doing like a lot of like the no wave and noise stuff that was happening in the 80s was really influential to me, because I realized that like if you tune all the strings on a guitar to the same note, then you just like hit them, it sounds cool, you know. And then I didn't start writing songs till like my late 20s, like songs, and I would say that I have a very beginner grasp of guitar, bass, drums, and synth. I just play within my limitations, and it's all about how you layer stuff. So like you can layer the 3 of the most simple guitar parts and a bass part and a synth, and put it over a beat, and it sounds like a beautifully complex song. You don't have to be virtuoso, and often like when people get too crazy and are too talented, like it doesn't really translate to being like genuine or soulful. They never was like into like bands just because they were really good at what they did or really good at their instruments. I can appreciate it. Yeah, like I'm glad I didn't learn, because my limitations have been a strength for my songwriting, because I'm working within a limited skill set, and I think that just creates something that's like a little more adventurous, a little more pure.
So, like, if you knew how to play guitar or like bass, would be really different.
Yeah, I mean, think if you had all the answers, like how boring life could be. Like if you just knew every turn to make and every door to go through.
Yeah, so you don't have to learn.
You can just like make mistakes, walk into walls, mess up, and like find what sounds good to you, because music is subjective.
Yeah, it's like passion. It's like your passion. You have to find out
And if
what's in your heart.
when you go and you learn music theory, and you learn all these things that I couldn't even grasp or comprehend to begin with, you're learning the framework of what people have already decided is music. So you're cutting out all these realms that you should explore, and just sit down with something and just strum and find your comfort zone with it, and like in no time you'll be creating things that you're happy with, and then eventually maybe other people will care about it too. That's what I did. I didn't ever try to put my stuff out there for it to be critiqued or accepted or embraced. It's just the internet takes your song that you upload and like throws it in a million people's faces.
Thank you. I really needed that, because someone just said, "Oh, you have to learn an instrument to be in a band."
Well, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean,
It kind of made me sad, kind of. But then when you told me that, I'm like, wow.
no, I'm not even being like the person that's like overtly humble and like, I can't even play. I cannot play guitar or drums or bass. I can play like the most simple, what I've taught myself, and I don't learn anything new, and I don't practice enough to get better. I purposely don't play my guitar because I just want to stay stupid when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Because that's like, my expression and what I'm creating, that's my attachment and my relationship with my instrument. It's not some grander scheme to be the best guitar player, So, yeah, you can just like pick up anything today and find your comfort zone with it, without a doubt.
It's really cool. You wish you were on the radio?
I think we are on the radio.
On the radio?
We're-
What station though? We don't. There's certain radio
We're
stations.
only played on college radio. So we'll be on like,
Like the real radio, you know, like the radio in the car and stuff.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we played on like KXLU. We played on a bunch of stuff. We got like the sheet with this album release. Like our PR sent us where we're being played. And it's a huge list of all the radio stations playing it and where we chart on the radio stations, like how often our records being played. And it was like good. But the big accomplishment for me, I grew up in New Hampshire, and we were being played on the college radio station that I found, like punk bands and things like that. Like,
I didn't know that. Like I thought that, like they just played the music that are just like from the 80s and the 90s and stuff. I
no,
didn't know.
there's the bigger radio stations that do that. College radio is a beautiful thing. Like totally tune into KXLU. There's like shows like Part-Time Punks, where he plays 3 hours of like bands that you've never heard of that will change your life. And there's people doing that all over the country. Like it's been a staple in like this whole music scene in general since the beginning of time. You know, like the 80s are why alternative music exists, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking of like making my own like radio station where like I could put like it's gonna be called Unknown Pleasures, like the album over here, and then 1334 it's gonna represent Ross Williams.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, start your own radio
you
station.
in it, put your band in it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I'll give you all our records. You play us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I used to do a fake radio show like at my house. I just had like a tape deck and I'd be like talk and then I'd press stop and then I'd dub a song and then I'd be like, that was so and so.
Yeah,
We're
that
back
sounds-
live and yeah. I mean, no one ever heard it.
Yeah. What are your passionate things to do besides music?
God, I love being with my kid. He's every day is like you get to see him like learn and grow and change, and that's like really exciting to see him refine his motor skills and his brain start to work better. Like that's really exciting. So I love being a dad, even if like at times I'm like, what am I doing? Like, oh my God. I've come to find out that's pretty normal. I collect shoes, I collect sneakers. Ungoth alert. I collect Jordans. I spend lots of money on shoes. I don't play basketball. I don't really even watch basketball. I watch football. I'm a Patriots fan. More Ungoth alert right there. I love, you know, it's weird, like in getting off. I did drugs for like 15 years, like hard drugs. Say no to drugs.
I will never do
That became my passion, like legitimately. So in coming out of that, it leaves you in such a daze that I haven't really found. I know what I used to like. You know, I used to like to go fishing. I used to like to go in the woods. I used to.
You're like an outdoor person?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I used to be an outdoor person. Like, it's hard to find that here. I've hugged trees before. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't talking to them and trying to like pass my emotional energy through them.
Brianna, you want to tell
You do
them
that?
something?
I do that. I name them.
Okay, that's cool. I mean,
Like that one is named Unique.
Unique?
Yeah, that was Unique.
what's up, girl? Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I was like, then don't step on an ant kid. I loved animals. We just got a dog.
Oh,
I don't know how I feel about her. It's a relationship that's like developing as time goes on.
yeah.
I used to be really passionate about animals. I used to be really passionate about music in terms of like listening to it. I rarely search out bands now, and it's just it doesn't have the same effect on me because
Because you're in a band.
that's part of it. I think like being in a band, you have to seek inspiration through music, but you also have to kind of have to like close the doors on it and not listen to music too, because it's very easy to be on a trajectory and hear something that's exciting and then like be too influenced by it, you know? So like during writing periods, I don't listen to music. I stopped buying record collections because once you sell your record collection like 6 times,
I just started my record collection.
don't sell it. Yeah, there's never a bill that's like too important, you know? I just, every time I go collecting, I used to have that. I get discouraged. I want to go cry. And then I'll like overeat. I'll like eat like 2 burgers and like a shake. And
You're a big eater?
I mean, I'm on a diet now. I work out. That's my new passion. So I'm trying to lose 60 pounds total. I'm down 14 pounds. I got like whatever the rest to go. Not passionate about math. And then my plan is to lose it by the end of October before we go to Europe, or I'm not going. Somebody else is going to have to take my place.
Yeah.
I already did one tour in Europe when I was like chubby, and I didn't like it. So, you know, goals. I'm passionate about goals.
How did you guys become a uniquely unknown pleasure and a wicked band?
She quotes Joy Division with her question.
Oh, I saw
how
that.
you did that?
It's very slick. Whoa. God. You know, I think if that's true, because that's a subjective statement, that would probably go hand in hand with denying myself that, what we were talking about earlier, like getting too good. Like, I feel like our approach is primitive. I feel like even if we write what is considered like a very catchy pop song, the elements of it are refined to the point of being like, they're punk rock. It's like the same stuff I learned when I was 14 or 15 years old, same skill set. So not getting too deep into melodic structures and stuff of that nature. Like, you know, we keep it pure and raw, and have managed to do that now, I guess, for 8 years. So that's like, I think what's unique about us. We don't try to sound like Joy Division or The Cure. We don't try to sound like a specific band. A lot of people do that because it's easy to do. It's exciting to play bass to a chorus pedal, admittedly, but you just can't do it all the time, you know? You can't just sing like Dracula all the time. Exactly, you know? Like, there's some staples to it, like kind of stereotypical avenues that you can take that I think people don't get called out enough. Like, with scenes like this that exist all the time, but it's like coming into popularity again. You have new people coming in, and those new people they're not turned off by like things being generic. So you just gotta sort through that stuff, and there's a lot of bands that are doing their own thing. I'd like to think that we're one of them.
So your album, Savior, is about your son, right?
Yes.
He's a miracle. Can you tell us about Chicago and the album?
Chicago is the last great American city. Chicago's a place that I was living a very dangerous, insane life. I left and brought Nicole back after she was pregnant, and realized that like kind of my skeletons in my closet there were gonna remain, and that it would probably not be a good place to raise a child. The south side of Chicago just has a lot of problems. You can Google it and research it. Things come up, put together the pieces. But, you know, when she was pregnant, we found out that she had placenta previa, which meant that the placenta had moved and covered up the birth canal.
Oh, yeah, that's what I learned in school. Like,
Right.
if it covers, the baby can't get out.
So, and if he does get out, it causes her to hemorrhage, and they can both bleed to death. So we're like, oh, cool, so our baby's like in a death trap right now. Interesting. And they told us, got to be a C-section.
Yeah.
That was a lot to take on, considering we didn't have like any direct family in Chicago. So we just made a trip out here to visit. She went into labor a month and a half early. He was born, and he immediately flatlined. And the doctors basically were pretty blunt to us that we would all pray and they would do everything they could, but there was no guarantee that he would pull through that. Yeah, and it was just a month of like just intense soul searching, hitting the same brick walls of like doubt and fear. Watching him on a breathing machine fight, you know, and at times like not even seemingly be there. And then step by step, like opened eyes. IV started to come out, gained more power, and before we knew it, like our kid was being released to us. But in that time while we were there, I just had my laptop with us. I bought an interface, bought a guitar, borrowed a bass, and just started writing music. Because if I didn't, I was gonna, I don't know, jump off something and die. I was like, didn't know what to do. She's recovering from having her stomach.
Music is like your coping skill?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's like ultimate therapy, more than anything. Start a band to like release fucked up shit, you know, like first and foremost. Everything else is like an added bonus if people like it, if you can gig, so on and so forth. I poured all that out and realized before I knew it that this album existed and that it was kind of essentially told the story of like what we were going through. It was really hard to share that with people, but the process of recreating it in the studio, I'm blown away by like how Ben Greenberg, who produced it, like captured how we really felt and what we were really going through, Nicole and I. And I'm like super grateful to my bandmates for taking a back seat and just kind of letting me, I wrote like almost all of it. So, you know, we had made goals to collaborate more after the last record, and it was like, they just knew that I needed to kind of do this. And yeah, it's definitely like, I can't listen to it at this point. Like it exists where it exists. I always can go back to each of those songs and feel what inspired each of them. Which isn't always like, they're not written from a hopeful place. Admittedly, I wasn't being the
hopeful guy?
yeah, the brave, like optimistic, you know, dad to be. I was like sitting there going, I'm being punished for the life that I've chosen. I'm being punished for the stupid stuff that I've done, for doing drugs, for doing crime, for going to prison, for all this stupid stuff. Like I'm finally having something that in a lot of ways was going to save my life, and they're just going to kill it right in front of me. That's how I felt.
No matter the mistakes that you have done in the past, you can ask God for forgiveness, and He'll forgive you, and He'll still love you.
And that's another thing too, like, you know, because this is such a like atheist scene. Like, you know, you're not allowed to talk about God, and I'm not saying anything about like Jesus or God or Christianity, but I know that that process of making that made me. I found myself like kind of soul searching a lot about like what I felt was potentially out there. Still undecided, you know, but it was like, I don't just believe that we're a random roll of the dice, you know. I do believe that even if it's Earth or the you know, the galaxy that is that God, you know, like that's a power that is way greater than all of us. And I wanted to just at least acknowledge it, because sometimes it feels good to like not be so self-absorbed that you think you're the only thing in the world and that everything revolves around it. It feels good to be little, you know, and not just be so like knee-deep in your problems and your fears. So there was moments of solace like in that period where, you know, at least through music, that I felt like a release of what I was going through.
Basically, music was like your God.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Music was my God.
Music, that's a good quote. Music
there you
is your
go.
God.
Put that on your radio station.
Yeah. Music is your God. So, you guys are going on tour, right? What are your plans?
We are going to do some SoCal shows. We got a residency at the Resident, which is this like little mini Portland. Feels like Portland. Section over there, that way. We're in downtown LA. I'm pointing northeast, I think. We're curating 4 shows, whatever that means, and then we're playing the last one. The one we're playing is the 26th of September. We play San Diego a couple days after that, and then we play with Trisme 21.
Okay, so the September 26th, is it on during the week or the weekend?
It's during the week, and then we're playing at the Echoplex that following Sunday, which is May 21, the 30th for Part-Time Punks. What up, Michael Stock? It's gonna be cool to play with them. They're an influence. We love all that French sad boy shit, Silent Party, etc. And then we go back to Europe in October. We're going to go there for a month. We'll do another U.S. tour after that. We've got plans to go back to Mexico, do a full Mexico tour, South America. We're going to hit everywhere. At least use the band as a chance to have people pay for us to go, like, you know, suck their culture up before we go back to our horrible little nest in the desert. Don't move to Palmdale.
What is it like playing Wave Gothic Treffen in 2007?
Oh, that was crazy. It was so weird. So it was like the one of 2 dates at the end of our Euro tour that were on the eastern half of Europe, which is like night and day from Benelux. So it's like, I guess, you know, post-communist rule. Very different. It's really cold and weird. People are just so passionate about music. We pulled into town, and the entire, like, Wave Gothic Treffen is not like a normal festival. It's not like you go into a field and there's 2 stages. The entire town, different buildings and venues, some official venues, others turned into venues, become the festival. So goths take the whole city over, like thousands, tens of thousands of them. It's like a revolt against the world. But we pulled in, and the first thing we saw was a Ferris wheel, and everybody on it's wearing all black, just like, and we were dying, because we're not stereotypically goth in any way. And we were like, whoa, this is so weird, contrast, you know. We're Americans, we love contrast. So that was killing us. When it came to getting on stage and playing, first of all, when I checked into the hotel, Wayne from The Mission and from Sisters of Mercy was checking in too, and I was like, oh, I'm still capable of being a fanboy. Like, I'm still like, you know, shaking. But when we got on stage, we played in like this temple. It's 2,000 people, and it was insane. It was just like the most insane show you could possibly play, the biggest show. People knew the words to our songs. It was just, we were just embraced on such an amazing level. We played an incredible slot. That festival was very generous to believe that we should be playing second to last. And we played for 70 minutes. Europe wants you to play forever. There's an American standard of playing for 40 minutes, and if you go over that, you're like basically a self-absorbed idiot. In Europe, no, they want the 70 minutes. They want 70 minutes and an encore and like all the kind of stereotypical rock and roll stuff, you know, that bands do. So you have to get used to that. But we went up there and just poured our hearts out and like had the greatest ending to like an amazing first trip to Europe. So like awesome, it was awesome.
Tobias, tell me about your love for the Cure.
Oh my god. It's the one band that even when I like I'm wearing full Adidas tracksuits and I've got like a shaved head and I'm like smoking an electronic cigarette, like that's still gonna be my band.
Cigarettes?
Yeah, e-cigs.
E-cigs.
I'm still going to be listening to The Cure. There's something like, yeah, I remember the first time I heard them, and their catalog is just so diverse, so all over the place. I think one main thing that they represent is that they were getting lumped into a scene that was embracing them, you know, this dark, this growing goth scene, and they rejected that in a lot of ways by having songs with sitars and saxophones and Mexican, like dun 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 dun, mariachi guitar stuff. And they were just like, we don't give a fuck, like we're gonna write songs that are great. It's one of the only bands that has such a diverse discography that like I can get through a whole week if I wanted to put something on that captured my mood. I could do it without being redundant, you know? If I went through the full gamut of being happy, sad, excited, nostalgic, it's all there. And just going to see them, especially the last time, I just cried like a little child.
Aww.
It's real amazing. I mean, they were hitting me with stuff like, you know, Hanging Garden, Into 100 Years, into Push, into Burn, into Fascination Street in a row, and I was like, oh, how dare you? You know, I wasn't prepared emotionally for them to do that, and I felt like they read my mind that night. I felt like they read all of our minds. It was just so cool to be in a room where, in Portland, we were outdoors, but everybody that I knew was there, except for Nicole. I invited her on a date. She turned it down. She overanalyzed it. Like,
Dang, Nicole.
yeah.
I'm just gonna pop in here to say once again, he was married at the time, and I was an idiot and was like, he doesn't mean it like a date, you know what I mean?
Wasn't trying to hit. Was trying to just take her to see The Cure. I felt like I wouldn't deny anybody The Cure. If anybody ever wants to see him and I've got the money in my pocket, got a ticket that's available that I can obtain for you, I'll do it. It's like a rite of passage, because when Robert Smith, God bless his soul, when he decides that like he doesn't want to see us anymore and he wants to lay down in the dirt, you're all gonna feel it, okay? It's gonna be one of those things where like you're gonna realize that the world has shifted and it's not going back to where it was.
Yeah.
So I want to carry on the fact that I could see his goofy little face and how he looked when he walked to the stage and waved all shy at the end of like a 3-hour set where like, you know, I just like was drenched in tears. So nothing will touch you like that.
Is there a new record coming out?
Yeah, like in typical Softkill fashion, we should be touring to support records that are already out. Another record's already written. We're already in the studio recording it. Always one step ahead. I'm really influenced by rap. I love rap music.
Can you hear it on the radio?
I listen to radio rap on Goth Alert. I listen to radio rap.
Tell Tobias what kind of rap you listen to, and that you also listen to the radio rap.
What do you listen to?
What do
You're
I
shy.
listen to?
You've heard a lot of the old school rap, like
Yeah, like
Astute, Snoop Dogg, Bone Thugs,
See-
Too Short.
yeah.
Bone Thugs. The original Goths. For real. Those fools have met Satan on a real level. I love that stuff, but what I love about rap the most, and about like independent scenes of rap, like all the Houston stuff, like the DJ Screw world and the Memphis scene, is that those dudes, when approached by record labels that were like, here's $500,000, sell your soul, they're like, nah. And those guys were more DIY and punk rock than anybody else, and those guys regionally, just selling to the 40,000 people that love them, are millionaires, you know, while you have people that have sold 40 million records that can't even like buy a house. And that was inspirational to me. Like, I don't care about being the biggest band. We've carved out our scene, that's our little circle that's growing. And if we just keep like doing right by those people and expressing ourselves, I'll be able to feed my kid, and I don't have to care what fucking Noisy says, or Pitchfork, or any of these fucking dorks that like absolutely have no idea what's going on and seem very proud of their opinions, and very proud of defining what people should care about, when like that should be a person-to-person thing, you know? What's up, Noisy? Pitchfork. New album coming out.
Oh, I have a rhyme. So, Softkill is pretty chill.
It's pretty sick.
Listen to Softkill.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a new record. It's gonna be coming at some point. Yo, Chris, Profound Lore. We're gonna keep touring to support this one first. I promise. No surprises. But like the next one, we got a name for it. It's written. It's wild. It's sad. It's about a bunch of people that are dead. So it's not about zombies. It's about people that ain't coming back. So, you know, love your loved ones while they're here, and push them to make good decisions.
Do you guys prefer pizza or some other food?
I would say that we prefer collectively Mexican food. That like if we had to choose, we would eat Mexican food from San Diego or Chicago. LA has a weird vibe I don't know what's going on, you know? So, San Diego's got it unlocked. Chicago's got it unlocked. LA, you should be embarrassed that a state next to Canada has better Mexican food than you. We love it. As a group, that's the one thing we can always agree on. Yep, in Europe, pretty weird Mexican food. Weird food in general. Uh-oh.
Do you think pizza is superior?
Do I think pizza's superior to what?
I don't know, it just says it on there.
You know, whoever wrote these fan questions, like, I get it, you don't care about us. Like,
I care.
my heart's hurt, but I'm gonna get over it in the next minute. Pizza's dear to my heart in the past, but I feel like I've outgrown it. I feel like I'm at a point, it's probably Little Caesars that did this to me too. Is that whole $5 hot and ready thing, like where that puts your mind mentally, where you're like, I can always afford to get one of those. Well, there's a reality where you actually do get them all the time. And like what that does to your body, it changes you. And I feel like Little Caesars changed me permanently, and now my grasp for pizza, it's like I kind of stay away from it. I know that I'm getting myself into something I can't handle. You know, like, because I'm not going to just eat a slice. I'll eat whatever she doesn't eat. And sometimes it's a race. I'll just eat as much as I can before she can get through the first piece.
I had to fight, actually.
So 7 pieces down, man. Sometimes the dog gets more than that, you know? So is it superior? I mean, you know, it's superior to, like, getting your teeth kicked down your throat. It's not superior to, like, my food.
Jesse West, how did you find the underground scene and what made it stick as something important in you, Liz?
I found the underground scene just because, honestly, to be real with you, I started playing shows and doing music through, like I said earlier, noise stuff, and it was such a small, tight-knit scene. And then doing one tour in 2004 of the US and going to all these different places, I met all these people that to this day I still know. So it's really kind of been the same framework, no matter how popular things have grown and become. Those people became like peers of mine and friends of mine, and it kind of became important to me just because they were the only ones legitimizing that expressing myself artistically was important. My parents paid no attention, and like I don't expect them to if like I was making noise, but without that I wouldn't be making music that now my parents, they validated me finally and said that what I'm doing is important, you know, and it was like a little anticlimactic, but I still felt good to be like, cool, my mom knows that like I play shows and people come, and my dad's like put the joint down once and been like, doing it, bro. So, yeah, the scene was the only thing I had that was like, yo, keep going, because we're gonna keep going, even though it's so hard and like reaps very few rewards. You know, for the first however many years, like you throw your life down a flight of stairs over and over again in the name of touring. It's a hard world out there.
Thank you.
Cool.